Hey everybody, NFT fans, welcome back to the ENVELOP Podcast. I'm your host, Eugene Crypto MC, and I'm here today with the gentleman you might have known. He is Kevin Reddy. He is venture investor, advisor. He's experienced in NFT, DeFi, Metaverse economy, AI, machine learning, GameFi, DAO, FinTech, IoT. He's also the speaker of upcoming CGC conference, 9th event on September 23rd, 24th. So Kevin, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Eugene. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
I will start with a personal story in the blockchain space of my speaker. Could you please briefly tell us, how did you get into the blockchain space? What were your main incentives?
Absolutely. My journey has been a little bit different than typical crypto leader in the industry. 20 plus years ago, when I did my master's thesis, my master's was in computer science and my master thesis was in decentralization and distributed computing. At that time, the focus was to decentralize the web, the internet, and I never expected actually the crypto as a use case for the blockchain, which is a blockchain is a DLT based on the decentralization concept. So crypto, thanks to Satoshi, obviously, Bitcoin kind of ignited the whole movement. And also happened to be with the Price Waterhouse and a couple of the management consulting companies. I was a leader in the cybersecurity space as well. So I had a lot of friends in the cryptography sector, and I got exposure to Satoshi's paper in early days. And I thought it was a great concept. But again, I underestimated the greed factor of humanity, and I did buy, and that's how I got involved in as an experimentation, and to see how this crypto use case can kind of do the blockchain adoption at large. And at the time, I was in Global 2000 and Fortune 500 space with leading strategy consulting firms, and I ended up basically starting my own security software company. And my first startup is enterprise security with AI and machine learning as an enabler. And the crypto, basically, I returned to almost 7 years ago, just before Ethereum. And when I saw that it's getting some traction, Bitcoin is getting traction, and there are a few other folks who are coming up with some use cases. And I was involved more as a observer and participating in some models, not too close to the industry at the time, but after I started seeing some more use cases being adopted, I started becoming an investor and then advisor, and more recently as a founder and chairman of 3 crypto projects in the NFT DeFi and Metaverse economies.
Yeah, fascinating story. Super interesting story. So, what projects, major projects, I know that's a lot of projects you are regarding blockchain, you are involved in, and what roles? May you count the major projects?
Absolutely. I've been involved in investor advisor a few projects, but I'm directly involved with the 3 key projects. One is DeFi, which is basically bringing the retail, the DeFi saving, DeFi yields. So basically, we are offering an easy-to-use interface to the retail investors, both crypto and non-crypto savvy end users. Ability to access this most attractive DeFi yields. On the back end, we have an aggregation layer, sophisticated aggregation and risk-adjusted portfolio management layer with the partnerships in the DeFi aggregation space. So this way, basically, we are bringing a larger adoption to crypto by tapping into making it easier for retail customers to engage and access those exponential returns that we see in DeFi world. That's DeFi. And another one is it's Gexi, gaming exchange. It's basically focusing on the gaming NFT DeFi economy. So meaning, we all know that gaming NFTs are providing a lot of utility and creating microeconomies with Axie Infinity and a few other players in the industry being the leaders. And with that gaming NFT economy, we're adding a DeFi layer on top of that and bringing the whole DeFi model, sophisticated DeFi model specific to gaming NFT economy. So this is the next evolution of where gaming NFT economies are forming, and we are providing a DeFi layer on top of that. And the third one is basically a social venture studio for specific to healing arts, for co-creation of healing arts with a multi-layered, multimodal approach. And this is more of a hobby project or almost a foundation project in my portfolio. And I'm supporting the healing artists and bringing more healing and also monetizing and enabling artists to create some wealth as well. So all these three projects, the common denominator, what excites me is democratizing access to wealth creation for folks who previously were not able to, and also kind of increasing the crypto adoption in various demographics across the globe.
Gotcha. How did you get your first exposure with NFTs, and how do you explain for non-crypto people what is NFT?
Absolutely. So NFTs I came across in the 2017, and again, CryptoPunks, everybody knows about CryptoPunks. And basically, how would I explain it? It all depends on the level of maturity of, let's say for non-crypto savvy folks, I would let them know that this is basically a unique representation of an asset on blockchain. Why blockchain? Blockchain offers this trust and transparency, immutability, and also with NFTs, you can represent an asset, real life asset or digital asset in a unique way, but also you can create economic models around it. So this way, basically, if they want to protect their creation or their asset on blockchain using this trust and transparency and immutability of the blockchain, at the same time, you can also monetize their assets in a borderless ecosystem with the various types of economic models, what DeFi brings.
Yeah, definitely. We've been witnessing the creation of really gaming economy, metaverse economy, and that's a huge world of new economy, exactly new economy. May I explain how do you maybe not define, how do you understand the term, or would have defined the term new gaming economy with NFT, metaverse economy? And a super interesting topic.
Absolutely. So, we're hearing about like CeFi, centralized finance, and TradFi, traditional finance, and DeFi, decentralized finance, right? But now we are seeing a hyper growth in a specific sector within the DeFi. But again, it's not just DeFi, right? This NFT economy but with the focus on a gaming sector. The reason gaming sector is picking up such a traction is basically in a typical NFT. The NFT started with the art NFTs, right? So it is just you create an NFT and somebody buys it and somebody sells it, and there's a transaction, buy and sell. But on the gaming NFT, there's a lot more layers of utility, merely based on the gamification of the transactions, where NFT can be a utility. That is the reason we have a lot more opportunities to monetize NFTs in a gaming sector, gaming economy, than an art economy, right? So art economy, you just buy and sell and you stake as an asset, and then you get some yields. Other than that, there's not much to it. But in gaming, you have a lot more exponential options in terms of how you can create economic layers and yields in different ways through DeFi adoption. So that's why gaming NFTs are taking on, and we are very embryonic stages, very early stages of this gaming economy. And do I see any other sectors like gaming popping up? There will be, but I think next progression from gaming would be gamification of existing sectors like fintech, health tech, ed tech, creating these NFTs in those spaces, but with a gamification layer. So That's why gamification, and that's what I call GameFi, which is basically I started saying that in last year, and I see that word popping up here and there nowadays. So I think GameFi is one of the pillars of the NFT DeFi Metaverse economy, and also GameFi is interesting because Metaverse adoption is initially will be mostly by gamers, because gamers are already used to the interface. They're Metaverse native. So Metaverse usability and adoption is much easier with the gamers or gaming savvy folks than a non-gamer who never used to how to navigate through a Metaverse in a real life in the past. And all these VR, AR layers coming up as well in the near future, in the next couple of years. Again, it's too early at the moment. Right now, we need to start getting the kind of adoption on the Metaverse side and creating these NFTs economies on the Metaverse native platforms.
Yeah, exactly. Why did we face NFT hype in the digital art space specifically? And was it similar or maybe differ comparing with the ICO hype in 2017?
Yeah, ICO was hyped for a main reason was it was unregulated and the huge multiples in terms of returns. So when people saw those exponential alpha that would not get in traditional finance without any regulations, everybody jumped in. And again, when there are no regulations, there always, as you can see, as we saw, there are a lot of fraud happens as well. So it wasn't sustainable. So we are going towards more and more better structured. Of course, regulations are coming right now, but again, there's a huge gap between what governments understand how to regulate these sophisticated, very fast evolving DeFi models. So we need to figure out a way to, one of the things that I do as a builder and the investor and advisor, I try to help the founders to, by design, come up with the regulatory compliant and by design, create models where is a regulatory compliance proof in a way that so that they don't need to worry about getting targets for governments to regulate, right? So that's something that we need to, as an industry, we need to make sure that we're building that type of models. Again, art NFTs took off mainly because the one thing is simplicity, and also art economy in general, traditional art economy. As you know, it's also not that regulated, so it was pretty a lot of synergies between that community, and they have an opportunity to now to sell on online virtual world with the larger exposure without any KYC so far. So that's why it took off so quickly. But again, regulations are coming in that space as well.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning regulation. I would love to ask you, you're in US right now, and if you remember, we met with you last time in Kiev, and maybe you might have heard that Ukrainian government has passed a law about the virtual assets, and we got a huge movement towards virtual assets embracement here in Ukraine. But in US, how would you describe the situation with crypto regulation in general in US? Is US fighting crypto, or is it embracing crypto? And when I say crypto, I mean not non-fungible tokens, such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, common cryptocurrency. I mean NFTs. I mean DeFi. This common case, SSE versus DeFi. We've heard, and so on and so forth. Describe the situation now. How do you see that?
Yeah, that's a very good point. As we're witnessing, US is embracing, but it's not. The folks on the other side who are in the organizations who are trying to come up with the regulatory framework that works, they are not as informed or aware of all the evolution happening at the pace it's happening. So there need to be a better partnership in terms of information flows and kind of bringing them up to speed as to what makes sense. what they're coming up with is very slow mainly because they're not sure how to regulate it effectively. And that's something that need to be a public-private partnership. And I think some of the folks are already trying to do that with the GBA Alliance and a few other things in DC. So that, and also some of the crypto leaders like Brock Pierce and a few other folks that I know. Charles Hoskins, and I actually went there recently in the DC talking to folks. So there are folks who are doing a lot of work behind the scenes, but it's moving slowly. But I would say US and SEC, they're not the enemies of crypto, but they are moving very slow, and but they need help from the crypto sector to give them a better tools and the information to go in the right direction. Compared to other countries, there some of them are afraid and they don't want crypto at all. As you know, the usual suspects. We don't need to mention the names, but but US and SEC, basically from what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, basically they want to embrace, but they want to be very careful how they want to integrate that into overall larger financial fabric.
How do you see the major legal issues which have arisen with the growing on NFT segment?
NFT segment, I would say one thing is one of the biggest issues is the interface, right? I think across crypto broader issues, the user interface is still pretty primitive. You got to be very crypto savvy, know how to do the MetaMask and everything. And nowadays we have multi-chains, right? Solana, Polygon, BSC. Now we have different types of wallets on different chains. And instead of all that, that's one of the things that I'm pushing for, and in my ventures that I'm involved with, making it easy for the non-crypto savvy guys to not worry about connecting to multiple wallets or even trying to connect to the wallet. Just log into their account and connect their bank account or wallets, and that's it. After that, they should be seamless, frictionless experience instead of dealing with all these complex ways to use the wallets for non-crypto savvy folks. So that's something that is the biggest hurdle in terms of adoption wise. Another thing, as I was saying, there are a lot of issues in terms of non-KYC, money laundering scenarios, like so people are that need to be regulated a little bit so that the bigger brands can adopt NFT. As NFT is not just art NFTs or gaming NFTs, right? NFT is actually a very powerful technology that actually provides a way to represent your digital twin of any physical object. Could be human or it could be any asset that need to be represented. And once you represent digitally as a unique token, unique address, basically you can attach all types of things with that and create economies around that, facilitate transactions. And there's a lot of utility around that. So NFT technology is more beyond what we're seeing right now. And I see there's a larger option that will happen, but there will be some standards and regulations at the global level need to be in place before we see that kind of growth.
Don't you see the possible governments tending to create a specific legal frameworks for NFT apart from other common digital assets? One of the currently the governments they don't understand what NFT is. They just they're still trying to figure out what crypto and all these different coins in crypto mean, and what are the stables and what are the difference between CBDC and versus stable coins versus these other altcoins, and then what is the DeFi layer doing. And so NFTs, I don't think they will regulate, but they will regulate high level as a crypto assets. So NFTs will fall into that actually in that category. So doing it's like throwing baby with the bathwater, because you don't want you don't want to regulate the whole crypto assets in one
stroke of brush, right? So you need to, this is where the crypto ecosystem, the leaders in the crypto ecosystem need to work with the government agencies or the regulatory agencies, the usual ones in US and outside US at the global level. So that's something need to be done. I'm not seeing enough because we are all focused in the specific ventures and ecosystems as we grow so fast, and everybody's trying to keep up with the pace. And but we need to have more efforts on engaging the government and the regulatory bodies around the world.
This is one of the great pain here in Ukraine. We also need to educate government officials, starting with the judges, the parliament, the deputies, and so on and so forth, to crypto, because they are dealing. How do you see the best way to educate government officials about crypto?
You know, I think Ukraine, actually, I'm impressed with their progress on identifying digital assets and trying to come up with the policy around it, and converting that into law soon, hopefully. And, you know, if you compare Ukraine to US, Ukraine, at least some of the politicians declared publicly their Bitcoin holdings. I don't think that happened in US yet. And so I think Ukraine is advanced in that sense than the US, and in terms of exposure. And I think Ukraine is one of the largest kind of transaction volume wise, one of the top countries. And so adoption wise happening, but still we can do more education. But how would even if you educate and bring awareness, how would you kind of bring them on board with all the power players and all the key stakeholders, is to create incentive systems for each stakeholder, right? For, let's say, for judges and legal folks, if you can show that with the cryptocurrency, you can bring more trust and transparency, and you can increase the tax revenues. Those type of incentives that aligned with their charter, if you can come up with kind of value model that's aligned with their individual stakeholder level charter, that will encourage them, right? Everybody's initially obviously excited about the multiples for their crypto investments. So some of them are obviously, but non-crypto holders at the moment, how do you bring them on board? You got to create some incentives or show them how valuable it is to actually adopt these digital assets and the crypto.
How do you see the potential use cases of NFTs beyond digital art, gaming, and metaverse? What purposes they will likely be used for in upcoming, let's say, 3, 5, 10 years?
Yeah, I think, you know, NFTs can represent pretty much any unique assets. I was saying before, as even the digital IDs and avatars, you know, with the AI coming in, as you heard about deep fakes, you know, coming in. So people in a real life, your representation of online can be completely faked with the GAN and the CNN with the set type of technologies within AI, right? So basically, if you use a metaverse in the future, most of the first of all, the Zoomers and the generation after that, they're already metaverse native, you know, generation. So for them, it's pretty normal and obvious. So when they go in there, they can create all kinds of avatars and everything. But how would you tie those avatars into a unique, identifiable, you know, as a token, so that you can actually create that certificate of authenticity or clear identification for a lot of any transactions that are legitimate? So NFT becomes almost a center, like a hub for creating any transaction based on a unique, where there's a need to be a unique identifier. So I see that you know, NFTs being the center of any unique identifier, just like for example, in US we need a social security number, right? For anything you need a social security number. For Ukraine you need some kind of a tax ID or something, right? So NFT becomes that. But in typical social security and tax ID and all those things, we cannot really create any other value. But in NFTs we can create an intrinsic value and grow it based on your contributions to that, right? Like social NFTs, community NFTs, and you know, all types of different DAO NFTs. And then there's I'm actually pushing for a little bit more sophisticated models like semi-fungible tokens, where there's a fungible token can contain a set of non-fungible tokens as a container. And this, these kind of things can be done, and then you can collateralize these things and come up with sophisticated derivatives for creating economic layers. So there's a lot can be done on the financial side and also on the governance side. And most of the some of the physical representations can be digitized and as a digital twin, so that you're eco-friendly as well.
Now, NFTs may be combined with two other big segments of blockchain industry. I mean, DeFi and DAO combined all together.
Yeah, absolutely. So DeFi we already talked about. We can come up with all kinds of DeFi, sophisticated DeFi services using NFTs as assets to collateralize. So NFT asset-backed DeFi services, that's already happening, and that's happening in the two projects that I mentioned, YieldDeFi and Gexi, that I co-founded. And also DAOs, basically, as you know, the venture DAOs are picking up right now. So currently, DAO is the few models that are definitely going to be part of our future, but it won't be pure DAOs everywhere. It'll be hybrid DAOs, meaning semi-DAOs, and also the governance models for these DAOs are still primitive. We're still trying to figure out. Again, every DAO, every DAO, depending on a sector, like if it takes, let's take venture DAOs. Right? Venture DAOs are picking up because they are ideal for crypto ventures and crypto ecosystems and the value chain to actually leverage a more automated, more equitable way to distribute resources and monetize, and also kind of award the right rewards to the right players for the right contributions in automated fashion, right? So DAOs definitely will involve NFTs because all the services or all these transactions going through DAOs can be represented in some scenarios with NFTs as well. We need NFTs in some scenarios because we need to have a unique way of representing some of the contributions or creations within DAO.
Definitely. As you know, we need to learn a lot in our blockchain space and NFT specifically. What are your favorite learning resources you would suggest to our listeners regarding NFTs?
NFTs, if somebody is coming in early, depending on your background, I think the first thing to start with is read a few articles. There are primers on NFTs and some reputable publications, and listen to some YouTube videos from the folks who have a lot of followers. But again, you need to kind of at least buy into, you don't need to buy, but at least participate in, there's NFT airdrops. If you Google NFT airdrops, there are folks giving away NFTs as part of the Genesis NFT campaigns. And you can get some free NFTs and learn how to store it in a wallet. In the future, there will be a lot more easier to buy and store and transact. But for now, if you want to learn NFT, how to actually participate in the NFT economy, then you need to understand how to get and install a wallet, which is pretty straightforward. Just search for MetaMask for ERC20 NFTs and ERC Ethereum NFTs, and then other NFTs. They're basically the interface are getting better and better as we evolve. But I would say start with some YouTube videos, some articles, and also try to get a free NFT. And if you want to buy, you can always buy on OpenSea or some art NFTs to start with. And if you're a gamer, if you're interested, just go into gaming NFT, platforms like gamers.network or Gexi.io, those kind of places.
Excellent advice. I love it. Couple more questions. Finally, what is the best way to follow you on the internet?
Yeah, the best way is, I think it would be my ready.ai, which takes to LinkedIn. So LinkedIn would be the right place to send me a message, and my AI will respond.
You are going to be to participate in the panel discussion named Bringing NFTs to Life in the upcoming CGC 9th event on September 25th, if I'm not mistaken. What are your expectations from CGC, and whom will you recommend to join your panel, to listen to you, or generally join this event to understand the future of NFTs and gaming and so on and so forth?
Absolutely. I think the panel is on Friday, the 24th at 6 p.m. Kiev time. So the panel is about bringing NFTs to life. The topic is around how would you leverage NFTs, the technology and the current trends, and the economies around it, and what kind of use cases you can actually bring to life using it based on NFTs and creating economies around NFTs. So it's a very relevant topic and very interesting topic, because we will be talking about a lot of different use cases that I will be sharing some of the ideas where some of the entrepreneurs or investors can get inspiration and start their own ventures and investments as well. Who should join? I think anybody who's interested in participating in an NFT economy, or build a venture in NFT economy, NFT DeFi, gaming, and Metaverse economies, and also investors who want to invest in these type of ventures.
Well, thank you very much, Kevin. It's been an extremely educational and super fascinating talk to me. Ladies and gentlemen, you were listening, watching to the ENVELOP Podcast. It is supported by the Nifty protocol and DAO ENVELOP. Please like, share, comment, subscribe on the channel, hit the bell button for not missing the future episodes. Kevin Reddy, a venture investor, advisor, and super experienced man with engineering background, and Eugene Crypto MC were with you. Thank you for listening. See you in the next episodes, and let's meet on the CGC 9th event, September 23rd, 24th. Listen to Kevin, listen to other brilliant speakers from NFT, gaming, Metaverse space. See ya in the next episodes. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Eugene. Bye-bye.